Hey everyone, so I'm gonna go ahead and put the new clutch and stuff on this, so I'll take y'all through this with me. We're gonna have to get the gear case off, the gear plate off, and then this brace off, and then my Turtle Racing piece back here off to expose my clutch bell. And then the clutch bell, I think it will pull off, and the clutch is gonna be behind that. So we got a couple of layers here. I really just hope that the clutch bolts come out easily. That is one thing that I absolutely do not want to strip. I do not want to cause any damage to those. So it's the biggest thing I've been dreading, is taking those clutch bolts off, because that's a big nerve-wracking thing for me. But anyways, we're gonna go ahead and get all this disassembled again. It is the spare gear cover, both gears, the gear plate, the engine bracing here, and this big chunk of aluminum here. Your truck may look a little different depending on if it's stock or if you have aftermarket parts here. But if you have aftermarket parts here, you've already done this before, and it's the same process. But yeah, let's get after it. Alright, so for me, because of the pipe that I have and the fact that this is all one piece, I think the stock one, yeah, it has like a plastic piece that fits in here. So for me, this is a little more work. I actually do have to take my my rear plate off, and to do that I got to get my exhaust undone. So a little more work here for me than some other people. I've also noticed that there was a lot of clutch dust on that bearing. So I'm wondering what the inside of this is going to look like. When I ordered it from DDM, it was supposed to be vented, and I just kind of slapped it all together, and I guess it's not vented. So yeah, after looking at the one that I ordered, and I think what they did was give me like new old stock or something instead of it's just a mix-up of part numbers. It's no one's fault, but I mean, I ain't like sore about it. But anyways, when you look it up, it's supposed to have like I think it's supposed to be vented on the sides and bottom, just like a little hole or something. So that kind of sucks. I'm sure this is gonna be chock full of clutch dust, but we'll see. The bearing so far still feels nice. It's not growly or anything, and there's no like play in it, so hopefully it's good. The same goes for this one back here. These are supposed to be really good quality bearings that come with the Turtle Racing stuff. So just got to get this rear plate off. It's just a couple of screws. It's not too difficult, and then this will just kind of pull right off as soon as I clear out this brake assembly here. All right, let's I got the top plate loose and the brake assembly out. This looks like it should be able to just kind of slide out now. So I'm going to take this little screw out that I had put back in to keep this off from falling apart. And we'll see just how bad the brake dust buildup in here is, or clutch dust buildup in here. Let's see. Not as bad as I thought it would be, at least not on the casing. You can see where it's built up there. Clean all this up. Oh yeah, that there's actually two bearings in there, and they feel nice and smooth. They're not growly or anything. There's no play in them, so my guess is maybe, I don't know, there's a bit of clutch dust on the inside of this shaft here, so maybe it was just coming through the center of the bearing, and that's why the outside was covered, because it was, look at how this is set up, how that is. So it was just getting put up there. Yeah, there's no play or anything. Not that, you know, isn't supposed to be there. When you tighten everything up, it kind of holds it all together. So yeah, so I'll show you what the inside looks like, and it is just about time for a new clutch. I got a little bit of pad left, but not a lot. You see all the clutch dust that's built up in there, though. That's bad, because that gets forced through your crank bearings, which not good at all. Speaking of crank bearings, do we have any play? A little bit in and out, which I think is normal. I'm not sure, but in terms of left and right and up and down and side to side, it's fine. There's no play in it at all. So yeah, you're gonna have two big bolts here on the inside of this clutch. You're gonna have these two big bolts here, and those have to come loose. Now, when you're trying to turn those, it's gonna try and turn over your engine. I've heard of people using a piston stopper before, which is something that you screw in place of the spark plug, and it blocks your piston. I've also heard people say that those will break pistons. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I've also heard of something called the rope trick, which is where you take rope and stuff it inside the cylinder. That way, when it comes to top dead center, it compresses the rope, and that is supposedly a lot easier on a piston than a piston stop. The only problem with that is if you're pulling it out and the rope breaks, now you got a cylinder full of rope, so now you got to take the head off to fix all that. So I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but I'll explain it to you when I figure it out, because I am not going to sit here with a camera and try to do it. Alright, so I got the clutch bolts out. This is what it should look like now. I'm going to show y'all something, and quite honestly, I don't want you to do this, but I'm going to show you how I got mine off. And the reason I don't want you to do this is because you could break something. I thought that I was going to. But this wrench fits perfect. How did I have it? Right in there, like that. And that's how I did it. I held that wrench like that to keep the flywheel from turning back on me, and that's how I got those bolts loose. Again, I don't do that, because this is cast aluminum. It's not the strongest thing in the world. Don't ever put anything in your fins here to keep it from spinning, because you'll snap your fins off. But that's how I got mine off. But I really just don't do that. All right, I shouldn't even be showing you that, because just don't do that. You might break something. I had to put a lot of force into this to the point where I was like, it's gonna break, and then it, the bolts finally popped loose. But we have everything here disassembled, and we are ready to put in the new heavy-duty clutch. And we replaced the red spring with this gold TMR 10,000 RPM spring. And what this should do is allow the motor to rev higher before the clutch engages, which is going to make it feel like it's got a lot more power. And instead of the engine being at 8,000, I think, which is what the stock one is, it should be at 10,000. So 2,000 more RPM, and it should it should rev a little higher before engaging, and it's going to be, I think, a little harder on throttle control, as you got to rev it higher for it to move. So every time it engages, it's going to want to break the rear end loose. But it's going to make it feel like it's got more power, and the engine's going to be hopefully a little further into the power band before the clutch actually engages, which again is going to help with takeoff. It's going to help with acceleration. It's going to help with the engine not being low in the RPMs, and the clutch catching before the engine is at a happy point, if that makes sense. So this TMR 10,000 spring and the Rovan heavy duty clutch. This is part number 85090, and if you can't find it from that for some reason, it's there, HD clutch. And then on Rovan's site, I just typed in 10K and this popped up. Sorry about the blood there. So yeah, I'm gonna get that put together, and we'll put it all back on. I would advise the bolts that came out, it looks like they had them thread locked from the factory, so I would put a little bit of thread lock on there, not a lot, and certainly not anything red. But I got my blue thread lock with me, so we're gonna put it in there. Filling of the bearing and everything, it's good. I do have a little bit, not much, in and out play. Like, again, it's maybe like 1 or 2 millimeters at most. I contacted a friend about that. He said it's normal. His was like that too. As long as your bearings don't have any side to side or up and down play, you're good. And a whole lot of slop back and forth is also a bad sign, but just a little bit is apparently okay. So yeah, anyways, I'm gonna get all this transferred over. All we do is take the old spring out and put the new one in, and then we put it all back together. Alright guys, let's go through something real quick. This right here, this crap, is the biggest pain in the behind that I've ever had to deal with. Once I figured out how, it was very simple, but it is a jigsaw puzzle at first. So, first of all, this is my old clutch, and I got unbelievably lucky. Like, it's not flat spotted or ground down. It was just now starting to touch, and somehow I did not cause any serious harm to the inside of this brand new Turtle Racing clutch belt. So I'm glad my friend talked me into getting the 10K spring, because this thing maybe has 5 tanks of fuel, if that, through it. And this is the stock clutch. Now, most of this was probably done during the break-in procedure, driving it around at half throttle with an 8K clutch. But I got just stupid lucky with that. If I can get it to focus. It is only just now eating through the pad material on there. So got really lucky. I got a little more wear on one side than the other. I don't know how normal that is. Sent a picture to my friend and he was freaking out because he's seen the overlapping material here but not over here. But this is more of an accurate side. This is just where it's kind of caked up from dusting off. But yeah, I got stupid lucky on that, man. I can't believe that. But back to how to get this together. If I could figure out how to link the guy's video in the description, I'll try to figure that out. If not, I'll put it up on screen, his YouTube channel name, and you can go look from there. But this is a pain in the butt if you don't know what you're doing, and I am not taking this thing back apart to show you. He does on his video, but I'm going to show y'all what to do here. You get it to where these two pieces are just touching, right? You get it even, straight, and where they're contacting one another, but it's going to look a little off-centered. It's not going to look right. You grab your pair of channel locks. You come in here like this. And you squeeze those two places together. And I was holding it way out here because I was terrified. I was like, ah! Yeah, I didn't want to get shot by a spring. Certainly not one like that. And I was like, how hard do you need to pull? And then it went ting! And it just fell right into place. And that's how you get them together. It is nerve-wracking. If you've never done it, it's terrifying. But that's how I did this. And that guy's video of a more in-depth explanation and actually showing it happen. Now, he did it with an 8K spring, which is like one of these. But it worked for the TMR 10K as well. So another little hint about this. When you look at your old clutch, you see how it goes in on the front, your writing and everything. See how that clutch goes in here? This one, according to who I asked, is the opposite. And actually, to be honest with you, for the life of me, I don't think I could get it in the other way because it will not line up. It will not like sit flat this way, and you cannot get both pieces in together. This is kind of the only way it would go together for me, and this is also how I was told to do it, is from the back. Now, there are spacers that come with your kit for here, so that when you put it back in here, this piece should not rub against this piece. Even the stock clutch has those little spacers, but the spring goes in from the back, from what I've been told. So channel locks, they don't have to be nothing fancy. I don't know whose these are. They're not mine. I found them laying around here. But you're going to need a fairly big pair. A small pair is probably not going to do you. But yeah, that's how I did it. I'll link his YouTube video in the description if I can figure out how. Alright, so we've got the new clutch and 10K spring on. This is how it should look. Like I said, it comes in from the back. Your stock clutch would go on more like that. So you see how you can see the your coils here. On this one, you kind of can't because it's coming in from the back. So now we're going to clean up all of this and put it all back together. And then, since that's the last upgrade part for a while, sorry about the noise, I'll be putting the cage on, and at the end of this video you'll see some pictures of what it looks like finally. Alright everyone, so we are getting to the point where it's starting to look like a truck again. We got a couple of more parts to put on, but before we do I want to show you something. When you're putting all of this together, when these aftermarket companies like Turtle Racing and RC Max build their aluminum hop-ups, they do not model these aluminum hop-ups off of a Rovan. They model them off an official HPI Baja 5B. Now the Rovan is a clone truck, so they fit most of the time. There are some machining tolerances that may be a little different. There are some things that are not 100% correct to the tiniest little gnat hair between an official HPI and a Rovan. There are some differences. For instance, Rovan pre-drills their chassis up here for a stiffening plate, but only their stiffening plate will fit. You cannot take, if you watched my video of installing this on the other Rovan chassis, the pre-drilled holes on the stiffening plate and the pre-drilled holes on the chassis did not even come close to lining up. I actually had to re-drill the chassis on that truck because it's not meant to accept a Scorpion stiffening plate. It's meant to accept a Rovan stiffening plate. So that's kind of an extreme, but there are smaller details. So when you're putting this together, certainly if you own a Rovan and you're putting Turtle Racing and RC Max parts on, back here specifically, like especially, as you tighten down all of these screws and bolts, you need to grab and you need to make sure that all of your tolerances are correct, because this is all your driveline stuff, and if something's off, you can have binding on this this input shaft. You may have a binding in your gears somewhere. So as you put all this together, you know, every 1 or 2 screws you put in, come back here and just kind of do a couple of turns. Make sure there's no hang-ups, no spots where it's hard to turn or anything like that. Because when I first put this RC Max brace on, I had one of those stiff spots. You would turn and then it would get real hard and then it would get easy again. And then you'd get real hard and it would get easy again. And I couldn't for the life of me figure out what was causing it. Eventually I just said screw it, and I ran it like that and it freed itself up. I don't know what freed up, but something did. And then when I took it all back apart again to put in the Turtle Racing gear plates and clutch housing and the top plate and all that good stuff, once I did that, it all went together easy and it didn't have any binding problems. So and I've been running it for, I don't know, months now like that, but after doing that. But again, as you change things out back here, as you put on aluminum upgrade parts from high dollar companies onto I mean, let's be honest, a Chinese clone, because that's what these are, just make sure that your tolerances are right and you don't have any binding. We're going to go ahead and finish putting it all together. The next thing you should see, probably going to be the pictures of the truck fully assembled. So, yeah. Well, I didn't think to say it in the video. Too excited to get it, the thing put back together. But thank y'all for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I'll see y'all next time. Oh, hey, by the way, check this out. Ha 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 ha!